All right, here we go. All right, good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Planning Commission of the City of Marina Valley. I now call this meeting to order on May 22nd, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. Can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Zeitz,
Present.
Commissioner Terrell,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner Steffen is absent, as well as Commissioner Cobian is absent today. Vice Chairperson Baker,
Here.
Chairperson Dejanay.
Present. Okay, I invite Commissioner Terrell to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. We will now move into the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll move that we approve the agenda submitted.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a first and second there. Can we have a vote? Okay, the motion does carry. Before we hear public comments this evening, I ask and encourage everyone participating to keep their comments respectful towards others. I do embrace and support the First Amendment right to free speech. Any person wishing to speak, either under the agendized or non-agendized item, should fill out a request to speak form available at the door and submit the form to the secretary prior to the end of the public comment period. During the public comment period, each member of the public will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The public must direct their comments to the chairperson of the commission and not to the other members or audience or anyone else. Now we move on to the public comments on any items that are not on the agenda. Are there any speakers?
We have no speakers.
Oh.
I'm sorry about that, Chairperson. We do have one speaker, Luis Palomares.
Thank you.
Give me a minute. I gotta get my breath. I have asthma, and when the summer really kicks up, so I gotta take my time here. Okay, Luis Palomares, community activist. Wow, I looked at the last planning commission. Good meeting. It was great. But when it came down to the closing comments with Kobe in here, that only's missed one time in 3 years. Give me a break. He's missing today. Why? I know Joanne went to a funeral all the way to Texas, but where's this guy? You know, to me, he's wow, how would I say it? I gotta watch my words here. Anyway, saying that, he's in the good old boys club with Cabrera, if you ask me, because he said at the meeting, oh, I heard about the 4th of July works over there at the council, what happened the other day, and on and on and on he went about it. And our council shouldn't be acting that way, and they should hold themselves to a higher standard, yada, yada, and went on about it. But he left out Cabrera's the one that's starting all the problems. At the last 4 meetings and closing comments, he gave Shalinda a tongue lashing at the last meeting. So what's he talking about? He's Cabrera's boy. He's all in the loop with the 3 commissioners that they didn't want to take Cobian out, how convenient, but they wanted to take the 3 that have been here and know what the heck they're doing, that got experience, knowledge, all of it. So, wow, he's in the loop with that group over there as far as the Gabby thing, you know. They should have known she wasn't registered to vote. I feel sorry for the girl. They used her. Second thing, you know, he's up there with his bragging rights, you know, protecting the mayor, doing his damage control. Then he goes on to talk about he's worked a multi-million dollar projects. He's wow, experience and all yada yada. He's all about it. He knows everything. But when about a month ago, when that item came down as far as upping the liquor license for the store on Iris in Paris, he says, "Oh, how's that gonna make our community look?" Yada yada. I mean, that could have opened us up for litigation. And then one of the other members said afterwards, after the meeting was over, said, "Wow, maybe he'll appeal it." And he goes, "Well, yeah." And he told the other member, "Oh, yeah, that's 57." He didn't say 750, but I think the other one said, "That's $750." He goes, "Oh, they got the money." What an attitude. What an ass, excuse my language. You know, what does he want to open us up for? Third thing, hold on, give me a minute. I wrote it down here because it's too hot. It's too hot out there for me to remember. You know, so he goes on to blame the whole council. He was to blame. Cabrera was to blame. He's the one that did it. Covian's doing all the damage control. You know, it's sad. You know, and then he says about the raceway, "I'm glad it went away." What a fool. Why would you say that? You're glad that cash cow went away. And we put a stupid mall there, and look where we're at now. You know, that.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
We have no more cards.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and non-controversial and may enact by one motion unless a member of the commission requests that an item be removed for separate action. Items withdrawn for the report or discussion will be heard before the action on the consent calendar. Questions or comments from the public on the consent calendar matter must pertain to the subject under consideration. At this time, would any commissioner like to pull an item from the consent calendar for a separate vote or discussion? I see everybody jumping at once. That's going to take it as a no. All right. Do we have any public comments for items on the consent calendar?
We have no cards.
Okay. Do I have a motion second for the consent calendar?
Motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's take worse.
Commissioner Zeitz?
There we go. The motion carries. All right, the next item on the agenda is the non-public hearing items, and at this time, we do not have any items. That moves us into the next item, which is the public hearing items. That's item number 1, the adoption of the 2022-23 Local Hazard Mitigation Plan and incorporation of the safety elements of the 2006 General Plan Amendment. Do we have a staff report?
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Angelica Frausto-Lupo. We do have contract planner Emily Elliott here to give a presentation. I would like to note that we also have our fire chief and the members of the fire department here with us this evening to help answer any questions you may have.
All right, perfect. Good evening, commissioners. So the purpose of this item today is to adopt the local hazard mitigation plan and incorporate it into the general plan safety element. What is our LHMP? If you're not already familiar, the local hazard mitigation plan is a document that's required by FEMA for hazard mitigation and funding eligibility. So the city does not need to have one per se, but in order to be eligible for a number of grants and other emergency and hazard mitigation funding, an adopted LHMP is required. This document is updated every 5 years, and city last updated it over the 2022-2023 timeframe. An LHMP is put together collaboratively with members of the community and multiple agencies and jurisdictions that provide service to Moreno Valley. This entire process was led by the fire department, and it did include that interdepartmental team along with community engagement. The LHMP identified a number of hazards, but the hazards that were identified as highest risk and highest probability included earthquakes and power outages. And the LHMP identifies risk reduction actions, including infrastructure resiliency measures, education, agency, and department coordination. In the resolution that you'll be considering this evening, the first item is acknowledging that the project is exempt from any further environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act. It is eligible for the general rule exemption 15061B3. It means that we have a great degree of certainty that this project wouldn't cause any significant environmental impact. In addition to that, you're adopting or at least recommending, to the council the adoption of the local hazard mitigation plan and incorporating that local hazard mitigation plan into the safety element through a general plan amendment. And I'll just add one more comment, even though we are taking an adoption action this evening. This plan has previously been adopted, but it was not incorporated into the safety element of the general plan. And that's really the matter that is at hand tonight, is making sure that the LHMP is included in the general plan safety element, which would make the city eligible for additional funding or cost sharing in the event of an emergency. With that, concludes my presentation. Chief Park and Fire Marshal Gonzalez are also here with us to help answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for staff?
Have one. Since this is redone every 5 years and it's already been accepted back in 22-23, first question, was that done under the 2040 GPU?
It wasn't incorporated into the general plan ever, and so tonight we would be including it in the 2006 general plan, and then the idea is that any future updates would be implemented under the new general plan whenever that is adopted.
Then we basically are going to, since it was 2023, you'll be looking into it again in 27, 28 to possibly update it again?
That's correct. It'll continue on its 5-year update cycle. And I should say there may be small amendments that happen in the interim as new fire maps are made available.
Are there any other commissioner questions for staff? None? Chatty group tonight, all right. That's okay. That's all right. All right, we'll move on to the public hearing at 6:14 p.m. Do we have any speakers?
One moment. We have one speaker, Luis Palomares.
Okay, Luis Palomares, community activist. You know, you do a great job up here, you commissioners. You really, really do. I've been watching you for years. You do a great job. The staff does an excellent job too. They bring it all to you. You ask all the questions and the reasons why and how come and what do we got to do to make this go forward or to make it happen, whatever item it is. But Cobian says, we don't carry that much weight here. We don't, I mean, look at his last comments. Yes, you do. It matters. If you got 4 people or 5 people that are always voting the wrong way, it matters. It keeps a lot of things from coming to our city. So your decisions do matter because you send it on to the council and it matters. So it's very important what you're doing here. Cobian said, oh, it's not all that, you know, we don't got that much power yet. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, because those 4 votes matter. Or those 5 votes or the 7 votes matter. It can matter of our city going forward or backwards. What they're doing here today matters. This is very important what's happening right now, here and now. So it matters. You need experienced people up there and that know what they're doing. And like Cobian said, you know, we don't carry that much weight. Yes, you do. And that's why they want those 3 seats. Yes, you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
No, there are no others.
Okay. At this time, if there are no more speakers for public testimony, then I will close the public testimony at 6:16 PM and move on to deliberations, or if we have a motion from the commissioner. Comments? Motion?
I make a motion to adopt the 2023 Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, LHMP, and incorporation in the safety element of the 2006 General Plan Amendment, PE and 25-006, and adopt, let me see what else. And to adopt, and then incorporate by reference, the local hazard mitigation plan into the safety element of the 2026 City of Moreno Valley General Plan.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a vote? Uh-oh. Well, yeah, we have, there we go. There it goes, okay. Okay, the motion does carry. Do we have a staff wrap-up?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the recommendation of the Planning Commission will be agendized and presented to the City Council at a future meeting.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is other commissioner business, which we do not have at this time. Staff comments, do we have any staff comments?
Yes, thank you. Did want to inform the Planning Commission that staff is working on adding information to the Planning Commission page on how the community residents can communicate with the Planning Commission. So we're creating an email, and the email will be pc@moval.org, so that any member of the community or the public that is interested in sending a communication to the Planning Commission can email to that email. And when we receive any communication, then the staff will bring the communication printed to each of you at the next regularly scheduled meeting. So did want to inform you of all of that. And then I wanted to say also that I hope that you all have a great holiday weekend, and thank you to those that have served and families who have lost loved ones. But it appears there may be a question.
Yeah, I have a question. I have two. Number one, who came to this consensus that the planning commissioners should lose their email? That's the number one thing. The second thing, I have a concern because when you're saying that you're going to bring the communication to the next meeting, I feel like that's not fair to us, because if we need to reach out to the community member, or if we need to research whatever the community member brings forth to us, like, we get it at that meeting and we have to vote on it at that meeting. Like, I've done a little bit of research, in other municipalities, their planning commissioners have their own emails. So from what I'm hearing, it has something to do with us adhering to the standards of taking the Keenan, the risk management classes, as far as keeping up with those classes. Is that what it is? Because I'm just a little bit like confused, because that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would we get the communication at the meeting on something that we're voting on right then and there, when a community member may want to talk to us or something like that? So I just want to know how this came about.
Sure. Well, it was a decision made at the administration level. There was reports done, and there were, I believe, just very few commissioners who used a city-issued email. The concern, it was primarily regarding safety, security issues. City Attorney would maybe perhaps can chime in a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of brought into this discussion this week. And so one of the concerns is that it was only the planning commissioners who were assigned an email address, a city email address. And so the issue came up from another commissioner about why they don't have one. And so this generated a discussion about cybersecurity. And so when the staff took a look at it, they learned that a lot of the emails that were assigned, the email addresses, weren't being used, so they went dormant. And for some reason, which I don't understand, that compromises our cybersecurity plan here with dormant emails. And also, under the Public Records Act, we are required to produce texts and emails that are sent to any of you about any city item, city issue, regardless of whether it's sent to your city email address or your private email address. So what we decided to do, and we actually did this at the staff level, we created a policy where we require communications about city business to be sent to staff's official city email addresses. That creates the presumption that those emails and texts are not official city records. So we don't have to produce them. We don't have to go to you and ask you, show us your phone, let us see your text, let us see your emails. But there's nothing that precludes you from using your private email addresses to communicate with the public. And there's nothing to preclude or prohibit the public from communicating with you via your private email addresses. We're just doing this as a means to protect your privacy and your communications, but at the same time acknowledging that the public has the right to communicate on issues officially with the city and with all of you. And when we get those communications and they go through this portal, we have to document them as official public records. So again, public can still communicate with you privately. It's just that when they go to this portal, everybody gets the information.
So then it's kind of like, is it like a shared email?
I don't know.
The email will come to staff, and then staff will distribute to the Planning Commission. And it's not different than what we're doing now. For example, you all received a memo regarding a communication that came in, so that's the same idea.
Well, how do we know that the information hasn't been altered? The cybersecurity thing, I'm just not really buying that. I've been a public servant for 26 years, and I've totally never heard of just because an email is dormant that you have to get rid of it. And our emails are not dormant. We get emails sent to us literally all the time from the public. So that I just can't fathom. The other part of it, maybe, but how do we know that when we actually get the information that it hasn't been altered in any type of way?
Well,
You're just gonna have to staff. Yeah.
I mean,
If
it's a
you don't
valid
trust
question.
staff
It's a
at that
valid
level,
question,
then
right?
there's
Like, it's a
issues.
valid question, though, right? Like, I'm just looking at everything from a 360 degree. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just really, truly want to know because I just don't get it. But if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But I'm still going to bring it up.
To add to hers is, one, a lot of people that do email us want it on public record that they did email us and informed us of what was going on. Also, a thing is, I'm 100% behind her, is we don't have enough time to look into their questions, whether they're valid or not valid. I get quite a few emails on mine. Some of them are very valid emails, some of them are not. But I like getting them. It's more transparency to the public that they're able to send us the same thing that we get the night of. They can actually send it to us early, because just tonight's email, we have one on here that brought up links. Well, how do we pull links 5 minutes before a meeting? To me, that's just handcuffing us immensely. I think it's not fair to us to make a proper decision on this, because I don't think we're getting it from all sides.
It's filtering. What if the mayor or somebody decides they don't want us to have that information? We won't get it. And that's just.
It's not gonna be the mayor's decision.
I'm not saying it's actually going to be him. I'm just saying whoever. It creates non-transparency from the community, it creates a barrier from the community to us and transparency, in my opinion. That's just how I see it, but hey.
The public can
What
be,
do I know?
will be ensured that if they send an email to this portal, it becomes an official public record that's subject to our retention schedule, meaning we can't just willy-nilly destroy it. If there's distrust at the staff level, then that's a big issue. That's a fundamental issue.
I guess my
There's
question would
distrust
be,
in
is this
staff
a
not
one-way
passing
portal?
information on.
Is it a one-way portal? Meaning that someone emails us, and we don't see the email until this meeting. So then therefore, we can't respond to it prior to the meeting?
Well, if you get, again, there's nothing that prohibits the public or you from inviting the public to email to your private email addresses.
What I mean is that if it's public record, couldn't I respond through the public record so that it's transparent?
As soon as you get a copy, if you want to respond.
So then I wouldn't be able to respond until after the meeting.
Well, the way it's set up now, if they sent it to just one or two of you, you would never see it. Under this plan, if it was sent to one or two of you, all of you would see it.
Okay. But we won't see it until the meeting.
Yeah, at this point, that's the plan.
Now, you did state that it
It's a
becomes
horrible plan.
it becomes a public record when it goes into this portal, correct?
Officially.
Then what's the difference if it goes to our email and becomes a public record?
Well, here's the issue. When we get requests from the public for all your texts and all your emails sent to through your private computer, your private server, your private mobile phone, we have an obligation, because we don't have a policy otherwise that provides that we don't recognize those. We only recognize official communications to the city coming through this portal. Then you have to produce that. You have to sign under penalty of perjury that you didn't get that information. If it's discovered, you're in big trouble.
The fact that we're even discussing anything should be sent to our private emails is just, I mean, our private emails should just literally be off the table at all. We shouldn't be using our private emails, and we shouldn't be forced to or asked to use our private emails to communicate with the public, period. And I'm not going to. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not going to. But saying that, oh, you could use your private email if you want to, like, is any other public servant at the city using their private email?
Yes.
No. Like,
Yes.
are they? If they want to. But at our email, our planning commissioner email, you literally have to log in through Outlook. So it's not like we're just going in there. Like, you have to log in. We have a password. We have, a username. So that's what's protecting us. Yeah, I guess this is a conversation that it can go on and on and on and on and on. But I just don't see the method behind it. It seems like some kind of punishment to me. I don't know. But whatever.
Well, this is all in the interest of transparency for the public and making sure that the public, when they do communicate with the city through this portal, that we acknowledge that that's an official public record that cannot be destroyed, in conflict with our retention schedule.
Okay.
Since you were stating that it's, if we, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we look up, say, our city email off our phone, saying there is nothing in the city ordinance or whatever that protects them from going back into our phone because we're reading the emails, say, on our phone? Or if they're subpoenaed?
If you receive an email or you send an email using your private email address or your private text number, that's presumed to be a public record.
Okay.
And then the next issue is it a public record that's subject to disclosure? Now, if you're just reading an email, you didn't send it, you didn't technically receive it directed to you, then the presumption is that that is not an official record that's subject to disclosure under the Public Records Act.
And then you also stated that the city doesn't have, I may use the wrong legal term, amendment or whatever it is, to protect us against them doing that. Why don't we have one, is what I'm saying. Is I feel by taking the email away from us is the easiest way out of it. But like I said, I do get quite a few emails. I get stuff from California Leagues of Cities, other information, new laws that change from outside sources, a lot of stuff that we would not get through the city that is sent to our city email. That way the city knows exactly that we're getting this stuff. It is their domain. I don't see the reasoning behind it, except that somebody has it and we don't want to get into that argument because the other commissioners want an email. I don't know, maybe there's another way of coming up with a separate domain that could set up an email service for us that's maybe not on the city but tied to. So meaning that when you get these city emails, they're automatically transferred to this one, even though it might not be a city email. And are we going to be able to have that email publicly known? Because right now they can look on our website, pull our email, and be able to send us things. With a private one, if we put it on a public documentation, does that now make it a city email?
An official city record.
So
Anything
saying that
that's
if
sent
we,
to the city regarding city business is an official public record.
so
the
like on
city.
our PC page where it has us listed out, or wherever they look us up, to be able to get our city email at this time, if we put our private one on there, does that not make that a city email at that point?
City emails are not currently posted, and as I don't believe they were ever posted on the web page for commissioners.
Yeah, and we're not permitted by law from providing any personal contact information for any appointed officials or elected officials without your permission.
Okay.
So just to make it clear, this was not done to punish or take away any rights. Again, those city emails were very rarely used. They were not on the website. In fact, we're trying to make it better for all of you to encourage the community that if they did want to communicate with you, there's an actual method to do so now. The city emails that were provided to the Planning Commission were frankly just not being used by the majority of you. And again, this is an effort to make it more transparent, to maintain records of what is being sent in, and to assist you.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, so the PC at Movile dot, okay, so like my colleagues over here were saying, so say for instance, Mr. X or Mrs. X or whoever sends an email, so we'll get it at the meeting. Is it any way that when that email comes to you guys that you could just send it to us through that email like we get all the time, buckets of emails from everybody? But if we do it, not wait to the last minute, but do it when like you've been doing. But except it doesn't go to our planning commission email, but it could go directly like it was before. Just send in, soon you get it, just distribute to all of us at that time, like you normally would do.
Yes, I believe we can do that. I think that that's a fair, recommendation or suggestion on your part, that when we get an email, then the way that we would communicate that to you is do it via a blind copy to all of you upon receiving it.
Yeah, cause I was saying to me that was more, cause I get emails and I read them and everything, but I don't want to wait to the last minute. I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but at the same time, when we usually get stuff, we get a bunch of emails, but as they come in, so when you look at your emails, oh, so-and-so written this and all this stuff, but as we did before, only thing is we don't have a email address, but we have a public. So if a public want to send something, even like from the League of Cities, if they send some things, then can you send it when they send it to us? I mean, not wait, because we won't be able to see it in the way the system will be set up. We won't be able to see the League of California City information. But when it comes in, can you forward it then when it comes in? You know how we've been doing it. I don't see an issue with that.
Yeah, if you're okay with sending, I mean, I'm not making the decision,
No.
but that recommendation could be passed on to the city manager.
Yeah,
So
well-
when the emails come in,
Yeah.
whether it's, somebody posts something on this site or this portal, it gets distributed immediately.
Yeah.
Provided you just provide the staff with
Yeah.
your private
Well,
email address.
Yeah, because if it comes in, then at least I could see it, because I don't want to get there and I see this, and I used to see it before, maybe weeks or days before, and it as real time when it comes in, like we normally get it currently, is to do the same exact thing with this new one, is just send us the information at that time, not waiting to the meeting.
One of the things I do like about getting the city emails, you guys notify us about the planning commission meeting, if it's canceled, if it's not canceled, how is that communication going to take place? Also, we get the agendas ahead of time through that email system, and I'm able to print them out and then read them. If that email is taken away, then, so there's a couple of things that, communications that do come from the city directly to us through that email system. So I guess, I don't know, how would I download or how would I know if it's canceled? Oh, Mr. Dejanay, it's canceled this week, and it's, okay, read it on the deal. Or a week prior, a meeting is scheduled for this date, here's the agenda, okay, fine, I could start reading up on but not to get an email before here, and then I guess I'd have to check the website every week to find out if.
Yeah, staff would continue to email you. We were just asking you to
But
provide
through
us your
where?
preferred email, your preferred personal email. So we would send you that information.
Through our personal email.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't have a problem with it. And I'll be the first to admit to everyone, I do not respond, and I didn't use it because I make it a point to try to stay off of social media and getting back and forth with anybody in email, because I just make my own decisions based on what I read, not by anybody trying to persuade me here or there. Here's an email, look at this, look at that. No, I get away from it. So I understand that part, so I don't have a problem. I just kind of want to know I kind of would like, even though I really didn't, if I did find something that I said I'd like to respond to, how could I respond to it? All right.
And just as a reminder, when public comments come in regarding a specific item or a public hearing item, you will get those comments in your agenda packet if they're received before the packet is posted. Otherwise, like again, tonight, you would receive it the day of the meeting. So that's not going to change because that is the process. But general communications that come in through pc@moval.org, then we would do a blind copy to all of you.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see it prior. I mean, even if we don't have to respond.
We will
to it.
still bring the hard copies to the next regular meeting, again, just for transparency and for the record keeping.
Absolutely. And yeah,
Some commissioners have told me that they created like separate Gmail accounts, and they've requested that when the emails are sent to them, that they're sent to that Gmail account, just so it doesn't pile up in their private email box. So that may be
I just don't get
Way to
that
do
meeting.
that.
I get the planning commission and either it's council or not, and get the agenda, that sort of thing. And I do see emails. I do read them, but I guess it's just having the ability to respond back and then if I didn't get Angelica's emails, I'd be upset. No, because it's informative to know, especially we get that agenda. So, yeah.
Because a lot of it is the emails. We may not respond back to the individual persons because you don't want to get into any kind of a discussion with them. But sometimes they do have some very, very good information that we would like to have enough time to thoroughly check out. And that's just kind of what bothers me. Yeah, to have a separate Gmail accounts, I've been with companies that have done that before. They've come up with basically a boilerplate like DZITES, MVP, or Reno Valley Planning Commission at Gmail. And that was the one that was put on our business cards and whatnot. And then that way, everybody that knew that had to do business with us knew that's what it was. I mean, if the city would come up with something that doesn't have to be on city domain, but maybe a type of layout or form that we could set up or something, that way then everything can be transferred over. I still don't like, that way then, if a particular, such as California leagues, as cities or whatnot, that we could tell them, okay, any further communications, send it to this one, instead of having everything go through the city and wait on them. It just, to me, not that I'm not trusting the city, I'm not trusting anybody else, but it does throw that into the wind, that how do we know they're getting everything? How do we know they're getting everything on time? I sent it, and you always hear this with different things. I never got notified. I never got the letter. I never got this. Where if we have this some way of tracing it back, stating that, yeah, it was sent out and whatnot, that would be great. I'm not a fan of losing it. It isn't like I ever send in emails. The only time I send emails is back to the city that have asked me for certain things, asked me for information, things of that nature. But as to the general public, I usually will not answer them back, but I do get a lot of information, a lot of links, a lot of things that I can look up, and then I can make my decision for myself with the information I have. I'm not a real fan of losing this. I would hope they would be able to come up with something better. But if that's what the city decides to do, I don't think there's a whole lot we can do about it.
No, I get the understanding about protecting and being transparent. Perfect. It works for me. You guys are always looking out for us and trying to find new avenues. So I don't really have a problem with it. I guess it kind of goes back to the training, Brown Act findings, Public Records Act. And I guess what we probably, when we get down to it, is what would be the conditions where under the Public Records Act that a private email would be? Is it through the subpoena process? Is it through a process of whether it's litigation or just if the average person asked?
Started with case law and eventually made its way through the legislature to become law.
Okay.
So the law provides that any communication, regardless of whether it's sent to a private email address or a private device or from a private email address or a private device, if it concerns city business, then it's an official public record that is presumably subject to disclosure, under the
However,
Public Records Act.
isn't that disclosure also mean that you have access to all the other emails in that email address?
No. Fortunately, the law was amended to allow allow all of you to self-attest as to whether, through an affidavit, as to whether or not you have any of those emails that are being requested. So we're not gonna
Thank you,
take your
Steve, for
phones
putting
and
up
comb
with me
through
tonight.
everything.
Because I just had a lot of questions. I'm sorry.
But I think, just one last comment. I think Commissioner Terrell's suggestion about you provide us with the preferred email address, then work it out with whoever you're working with on this, perhaps getting those emails out as soon as they're received. And it's likely that through this process, as this process is being developed, when those emails go out, there's going to be a reminder to not communicate with one another about those issues, to avoid a inadvertent Brown Act violation.
That was going to be my next question. If it's a public hub, I guess then someone would have to disaggregate all of those emails. For instance, we get emails through this pc@mobile.org, then we all get them. Now we all have that same information, and maybe one person is trying to persuade another one through that email process.
Well, to help mitigate that risk, what we generally do, and we do this at the council, with the council, we blind copy all of them. So there's not a reply to all. That reply to all is basically a Brown Act violation.
I see.
Yeah, so
That's what I was getting
that's
at.
how we mitigate that risk.
So I guess it does bring up, for instance, let's say hypothetically speaking, the emails are they delivered to each individual? Let's say he gets an email, Commissioner Terrell gets an email. Do we get all of his that email that was sent to him that day at the meeting? Or is it that somebody is trying to email me specifically? Do I only get the email that's sent to me? What I'm saying is, let's say hypothetically speaking, we get all the emails through this hub, then we continue the meeting. We could probably potentially be in a position for Brown Act.
Emails would be forwarded, again, blind copied. So just the way that you all receive communications from us now, you all receive the same communication, but you're blind copied and you're reminded not to reply all, just in case. We don't want to violate the Brown Act. So that's not going to change. The way that we communicate with all of you, you will all receive the same information via blind copy.
Okay, so then that means that I would not see his reply. And I wouldn't see his reply or my reply or that sort of thing to try to, so we wouldn't be in violation of Brown Act.
Correct. Even if staff passes on that reply to a majority, then there's a Brown Act violation.
See, at first, it just kind of sounds like just a hub. There's this hub, and everything goes to this pc@movile.org, and then, there's an email, and then I reply to it, and then, it's just in this, okay. That's kind of
What some commissioners don't know is that we know that a lot of commissioners are getting emails that are not sharing it with the city, because we get blind copied. Oh, well, that's interesting. We get just blind copied on these emails that were sent to various commissioners.
I see.
During this hub, can we answer emails through this hub? That's what I think he was asking,
It's not a hub.
or whatever.
It's an email address.
Okay.
So any member of the community that wants to email the Planning Commission will email to that specific email address. That communication will go to staff, and staff will forward, as we just discussed, via blind copy, and then bring a hard copy to the next regular meeting.
Okay, so that answers my question. Basically, so we would not be able to respond through the city if we respond, and I'm just clarifying that.
You would not be responding through the city. You as an individual have a choice to respond directly to that email because you will see who is sending you that email.
Does that answer your
Basically, we're
question,
treating all this correspondence and communications as public comment. A lot of this comes from people who cannot actually attend the meeting for one reason or the other. But they'll have the benefit of knowing that if they can submit these public comments before the meeting, everyone's going to get it. And it becomes a part of the official record.
Nice.
So what would be the cutoff that it would not be forwarded to our email and only brought to here?
Like the day of, an hour before.
We're looking at an hour before this meeting, then it would come to the next meeting. But again,
I mean, forwarded to like if we give you an email that we wanted this forwarded to, what would be like 24 hours prior to the meeting, any email you receive at that point through PC would not be sent to us, but brought to us in a hard copy?
well, again, it would be an hour. Any email either received, we would not be able to forward it because an hour before the meeting, Stacy's setting up the dais, Stacy's setting up the room here. So it would not be forwarded to you, and the hard copy would not be brought here. So it would be at the next meeting. Anybody wanting to make a public comment on an item on the agenda that evening is welcome to come here in person.
So just so I fully understand this, if they email you and we give you the email, and it's emailed to the PC, we will get it forwarded us up to an hour before, plus we will also get the hard copies here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, that was staff comments. We had a lot of questions. Any other staff comments?
Again, just wanted to wish you all a good weekend, and thank you to those who have served and families who have lost loved ones. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Planning Commissioner comments on items under the preview of the Planning Commission. Do we have any comments? off, well, I'd like to say happy Memorial Day that's coming up, and enjoy yourselves and barbecue, and gosh, you can use pc@moval.org to share any recipes that may come out for some delicious barbecue. That'd be fantastic. No, and again, I always have to say thank you guys. You know, you guys are often under the hot seat, and you guys always answer questions with professionalism and poise, even though, you know, sometimes they're coming from the hip. And I see it in the city council, I see it from us, and what smiles in your face, and you guys are fantastic. Just thank you very much. I really appreciate that. All right, with that said, the Planning Commission meeting is adjourned at 6:51 p.m. until our regular meeting on June 12th, 2025 at 6 p.m.